Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another edition of Bluebaggers Edge. As you can tell, my voice is a little bit croaky, which is kind of the norm around these parts, especially in recent times. But yeah, I figured this is the perfect time, post game of what was a shitful game, to, I guess, debut for the first time. We're going to call them raw reactions. A place where you can, lay bare your emotions and your feelings. It's a safe place here. Safe place here at Bluebaggers Edge. But what can we say? What can we say? We're going to open up the floor, give you the mic, hand it over to all of you tuning in. We'll deep dive, go through the stats. We'll go through what worked. There were a couple of things that worked. Again, Groundhog Day, early days in the game. Looked good, and then just came undone. But before we do, I just want to harp back to, for those of you who tuned into my preview of this game, you would have heard me at the back end of that video mention my prediction for the game. And I was forthright in saying that I tipped North Melbourne, and I went about explaining how the game would unfold, but also providing a prediction. Let's have a listen to what I said. Tip for me, I'm tipping North Melbourne for, I think, about 10 points, I'll say. I reckon that it'll be toing and froing for most of the day, but then we might wrestle back momentum and get the lead. But I feel as though North, yes, they'll come from behind and they'll end up trouncing us, I think. It's kind of the state of where we're at, I think, and that's kind of the reality that I think I've come to terms with Carlton. We're a bottom six team, and the way we're being coached, the way that we're playing, the way that some players are just not up to standard, it all culminates in a team that's bottom six. And, we're losing to teams bottom six, but also bottom four. There we have it. I feel a bit like Nostradamus, but not to be celebrated. 10 points. 10 points. And that's what the margin was, and that's the way the game unfolded. I will give the team credit, though, that we did not fall into a heap as early as what we normally would. But, a broken clock is right twice a day, as they say. So it's bound to, I guess, change up in the style of loss that we have. But that's just the state of it, isn't it? Like, we've seen this result enough now unfolding where we can pick what's going to happen. And that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing. We've seen it when we've been up by 40 points. We've seen it now when we've been up by half that margin this afternoon. And keep these comments streaming through. So thanks for joining us, as always, if you are joining us late. Brah, I've been saying it for a long while. And copping a little bit of flack. And I think it's from those supporters that, don't want to see another coach sacked. But it's a narrative that is being pushed through the media. And it's a situation that we find ourselves in off the back of the club virtually painting ourselves into this corner where historically we have not backed in the coach, which, yes, it's not a good thing, but you've got to also think in terms of, okay, maybe these coaches weren't the right people for the job. And I think it's beyond the coach themselves as well. It's well above that. It's the board level people that are ratifying, that are ticking off these appointments as well. And we've really come to a point, I think it's a flashpoint, where we've made, I won't say sweeping changes, but changes across the board for the playing list. We've obviously made changes around Michael Voss to give him the best chance to prove himself and, I guess, put his hand up and admit if he is wrong, if he's not the right man for the job, or conversely, if he is the right man for the job and he just didn't quite have the support or the right people around him in those assistant positions. But it's correct. Rockman, I think it's time. Rayner, I definitely made the right call not to watch the game. And Brah, should have never have hired in the first place, sacked the board too. Now, I never like to admit that an early call that I make is a good call, because especially when it's calling for the coach not being the right appointment. And I made a tweet way back in 2022 now, 2020, yeah, it would have been 2022, when Michael Voss was hired for the job. And it just looked so, I won't put it up on screen as yet. I will do it after he has given his marching orders, because you can see it from the outset, the way that the club works, they like to go for not necessarily the right man for the job. They like to go for the quick fix. They like to go for someone that, in that position we found ourselves in off the back of Bolton being given the arse, David Teague. We suddenly needed, off the back of these inexperienced coaches not working, we needed a coach with experience. Didn't matter the fact that Michael Voss was coming from Brisbane, who had finished last. He'd been at the helm there and not worked. It was either him or Ross Lyon. Ross Lyon wanted the job without an interview, which, again, that's probably the one positive, is that we didn't hand Ross Lyon the job off the back of that. But, geez, do we have an issue of not doing our due diligence when it comes to interviewing coaches? And again, the fault is obviously on the coach being hired, but more so it's on the fault of the board, across the board. I mean, talking about in terms of across the years, the CEO, the head of football, these guys have been in the positions of power, and they have not done their job. And that is the reason why we find ourselves in our current position. And 100% agree, Rainer. Lyon would not have worked. And I was thankful that we didn't go for Lyon. When he was struck off the list early on, I was like, thank the Lord. Maybe the club has seen the light. But I've spoken about it multiple times with regards to, the issues around the club and the way it runs things, the way it goes about things. Look, before I continue on rabbiting on, let me grab the link for all of you out there, kind people joining us, to jump on for a bit of a yarn. Feel free to do so. No obligations, of course. But if you feel like you need to get something off your chest, if you want to put your point of view forward, absolutely go for it. So this is the link here, StreamYard. So click on that link and you will be navigated through to the green room, virtual green room. And let us know your thoughts. It's a massive issue. And like you've mentioned here, Mercedes, of course, I think that is Jack. Wright is now indoctrinated by the board. People always thought he's the savior. I waited to see what he does well. And that's the issue, is that the board have obviously a lot of power when it comes to football clubs. And if they're not the right people in the positions, you just find yourselves going around in circles. And that's what I think we've found ourselves in at the moment. Across the board, we're going for Brendan Bolton, David Teague, and now going for the likes of a Michael Voss, who had experience, but not the correct experience. And just the hindsight now, but also the foresight that a lot of people should have had. And in the media as well, I think there was very little criticism around the appointment of Michael Voss, which, always perplexes me. But now it's always after the fact. Sack the coach. But it's been a long time coming. And there's been issues around lack of support around Brendan Bolton. When I was at the club, I saw it firsthand. There was Neil Craig there when he left his position. He wasn't replaced, which is a massive thing. And I think around inexperienced coaches, you need someone of senior experience to help guide that inexperienced coach. A lot of them are coming obviously from assistant coaching backgrounds, so they may have a tactical nous, but they may not have maybe other abilities in the repertoire to be senior coaches. Luff has spoken about Michael Voss with regards to him being a people person, but the tactical side of things, I think it's kind of lacking, and it is showing. It has been showing across the past few years. Let's continue on, and we will whack up some of these comments and questions, so keep them ticking through. But first and foremost, we have a familiar face here. We've had her on the channel once before. It is a familiar face to myself, obviously, because it is my wife, a fellow bagger, and tragic. So here she is. Hello, wifey.
Hello.
Now, you're at the game. What were your thoughts? We didn't sit next to each other, not because we're having a tiff, but because your dad was kind enough to allow me into the Medallion Club, which he was able to get tickets to, and you sat with your friend and her husband. You were a different perspective. You're on the other side of the ground. We were kind of on the wing. But you were on level 3, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in the sky. So it was really good because we obviously normally sit level 1 with our membership seats at both Marvel and the MCG. So seeing it from level 3 did give me a different perspective, and I think I have left the game with a different perspective to what I have had in the past as well. Yeah, I kept saying when Sheasel kicked that goal, I just said, this is disgusting. Because, like, honestly, I can't even think of a better word to describe it other than this is disgusting. When we were debriefing about it in the car, I think my dad summed it up really well. And it was that this one probably hurts more because it kind of looked like it maybe wasn't going to happen again for the millionth time. And then when it did happen, it it just, I couldn't, it's actually unfathomable how it keeps on happening. And I watched a bit of Voss's press conference because, interesting to always hear what he has to say. And of course, he tried to deflect at the start and end of the press conference about, remembering what today's about, which of course is important, and, we should remember that. But it kind of especially at the end of the press conference felt like a bit of a deflection about how, we're proud to be a club with our community, and, and all of that stuff is super, super important. But at the end of the day, there's clearly an issue here that they can't figure out a solution for, or they can't figure out what's causing the problem, which is very alarming. How many times does it have to happen? And he was queried about whether he thinks it's a mental thing. And he said that today he didn't think it was a mental thing. And he did kind of ponder the question when they asked it, the journo asked it. So if it's not a mental thing, then what is it? And, I don't think there was some questionable umpiring decisions, but that did not influence, the game, the whole game. There was many opportunities that were fumbled in that whole game. I remember in the second quarter, just watching the game, it was a terrible, scrappy, awful game as well from both ends, especially that first half. But I remember sitting in the second quarter and thinking, my God, North Melbourne are terrible. Like the turnover, like everything was looking awful. And then for them to come and win, that's why I think it was disgusting. Like, honestly, I think the Sydney loss this year, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, Sydney are pretty strong, especially up in Sydney. The Richmond game, yeah, that was just a lucky escape. I didn't feel like a win. It felt like Richmond lost that game, not that we won it. Last week, I didn't go, and I kind of was just like, kind of expected that we were going to lose, like how we lost. Hey?
Spared yourself the misery.
Spared myself the misery, but still watched it at home. But, kind of expected that was probably going to happen, just because you kind of come to expect that this is what's going to happen now, which is crazy. And then today I just thought there's no way that this can happen again. And then it did happen again. So I think I've been, you talk about supporters that don't agree with you in terms of sacking Voss, and I've been one of those. We've sort of disagreed on that in terms of, you called the sacking of Voss pretty early, I must say, and I've always maintained, no, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And I think someone in the comments just before said it is the right time, and I agree. Like, I think, how many chances can one person get? It is time now. How many chances can one person get to then see no difference or no change? The other thing that I just can't get over in my head is that Mark Pitnett and Harry Mackay are currently tied for the most goals for the year for our club. Like, what is going on? Harry, I don't know what is going on with Harry, whether he's, relearning a new structure now without Charlie there, or he's got some mental demons happening in front of, goals. But we're not getting enough out of Harry that we need to be getting out of him. And we're not getting enough, like the fact that why is Mark Pitnett up there? Like, it's, it was a bit of a joke at the start, but now it's kind of like, no, but seriously, why is he up there as our joint leading goal kicker?
Yeah, I think that says it all, doesn't it? With Pitnett, he's a player as well that probably was pushed into the second tier ruck position with TDK there. And to go from that to now, he's actually probably in the form of his career, doing really well to his credit. But the fact that he's gone from that to now being our leading goal kicker, it just really does sum things up. And like that first, I think was it in the first quarter, potentially maybe second quarter, early days, when it was Harry and I think it was Frankie running into each other, going for the same ball, and it's just comedy of errors that senior players shouldn't be making.
No. And like
it's
Kemp goes missing, and I understand he's obviously had time off and he's fitting back into the structure as well, but like it's just not working. It's just not working, and there's a lot that's not working. But like Cripper today, I know like Cripper's been getting a hell of a lot of criticism, but Cripper today was so slow, and I know he had guys hanging off him like for the most part of the day, but what is going on there? Is he carrying an injury? Is he just not fit? Because I don't believe that's true, because I remember seeing he was doing like all this extra training and extra stuff in the preseason to be at a certain fitness. So what is the problem? Is he carrying an injury that we don't know about? Or is he just getting old and slow? But I don't know. I just feel like there's something more going on there. And then I don't know, we feel so unpolished. It's just unbelievable. I can't fathom it, and I don't know how to fix it other than they just need a really, really good sports psychologist to go in there. They really need a really good saging of that club, and they really need to get rid of Voss.
Yeah. I think, and that's with Cripper, I think it seems as though the way that the game, like modern footy, is being played, and especially this season, I mean, we're only 4 rounds into the season, but already we've seen so many of the successful teams adopting almost like Brisbane's game style. And it always happens, like the most successful teams get replicated in the seasons subsequent. But it seems as though like the outside run is such a big thing, which Voss prioritizes winning at the contest, and that's it. And it's like, because we're being blanketed so easily at the contest at every stoppage, and teams set up with outside runners and stuff that they just handball to. There's that in combination with the way that the team is set up. I've got a video which I don't know, I'll have to see if I can upload it, but your dad and I were in hysterics because so many times our entire forward line was pushed into the defensive half, and then on turnover, and again, I've spoken about it like so many times, but
there's nowhere to kick to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We had turnover, and there was a bit of play where Frankie, near our pocket, he was sort of the closest to the pocket that we were, kicked it to Harry on the wing. Harry took the mark, and the only player ahead of the ball was Ainsworth, who was right next to him, who had to sprint with his player alongside him. And Harry's only option was to kick the ball over his head for him to run onto. And then Ainsworth got tackled, and a stoppage was caused anyway. So it's the way that the players are set up as well. Like, I know the players are making mistakes and whatnot, but structurally, it does not put us in a good position. And there's so much spoken about the lack of, I guess, fitness with players, not being able to run out games. That structure and game plan is not conducive for a team, unless you're at ultra fitness, like you're a marathon runner, especially the forwards, being expected to run from one half of the ground into the defensive half and then to be sprinting back again to the forward half when we have the ball. Those repeat sprint efforts just aren't sustainable across 4 quarters. So it's no wonder that the guys are run off their feet. It's such an archaic game plan and so one-dimensional. And you would think that with Voss being under the pump as he is, naturally, off the back of last year when he was very lucky to keep his spot, that he would be trying new things, which it seems as though we're just going back into the old, like he's just given up, like he's thrown his hands in the air and said, look, guys, we have to maintain this game plan, keep the structure, and it's just not sustainable. So we're literally chasing our tail, and it's going to persist week after week after week, the same thing. And Sheasel, I don't know if you saw, I think I read it out in the car, but Sheasel mentioned that at 3/4 time in the huddle, that they were saying to themselves, we're still in this game and we're going to win. And we're giving opponents that mentality, that mindset, knowing that we're going to run out of legs, knowing that psychologically we're not in the game, and we shit ourselves in the foot. And fitness-wise, we run out of gas because of the way we're expected to play.
The amount of loose blokes that were running around today, and not Carlton blokes, sorry, North. Well, no, it would have been Carlton too because they weren't with their man. But what I mean is the amount of loose North Melbourne blokes when the ball was going in their direction to their forward half was disgusting. Get on your man. It is basic football. Please. What do you mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing. When I know like modern footy is like that, where they kind of set up, and Collingwood were probably the best at doing it a couple of years ago, where they guard space and they don't virtually man up an opponent. So they can be, depending on which way the ball is going, they can be in between either being defensive or being attacking. But we're just not of that quality where we can't afford to be guarding grass and guarding space.
And I think blokes just jogging.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see the guys are just given up, and, you know, whether it be jogging because mentally they're cooked, physically they're cooked, or they're just like, you know what, stuff it. You know, why should we continue playing the way we are? And it seems to be elements of that as well. I reckon that late last year, and there were guys that were catalysts for it, I think, and Charlie being one of those, and we can see it now at Sydney where he gives up, and, you know, he's not the best example of someone that puts in for 4 quarters. But I think there was elements outside of him where players were just, they were like, you know what, why continue with what is not going to work? And they probably expected Voss to be given the arse, I reckon, as well. And I reckon a lot of them were surprised that he was kept on. And they are probably thinking, shit, like, why persist? And it's at a point now where I think the club needs to make a move. And I hate this narrative about, you know, that supporters have that, oh, we can't sack another coach because we've sacked so many coaches in the past. Well,
no, we're past that point. We've passed that point. We've given him the chance. We've given him probably more chances. I think I was probably in agreement with you mid last year that it probably was time for him to go. I was actually surprised that he wasn't given the sack mid last year. But yeah, now there's like literally no excuse. You have Adam Simpson there. You have Travis Boak there. You have all these people there that are helping. Well, nothing's changed. And the other thing that Voss said in his press conference when Jono asked, what do you think has been something along the lines of what do you think's been contributing to the second half fade outs over the last couple of years? Voss was like, I don't think you can count the last year. You can only focus on this year. Is he joking? It's literally the same thing. Exactly
right. And like it all counts, especially when you're a senior coach, and, you know, win and losses, they count for the most. Yes, it's obviously making progress and improving, but we haven't seen any of that across the journey in his time at 5 years now that he's been in the position. And the amount of people are like, you know, oh, maybe we shouldn't sack him, and just, you know, think about Damien Hardwick and stuff. They use him as an example because they backed in Hardwick. You know, Geelong with Bomber Thompson is another example. But let's just use an example, Brisbane, for example. Like, if they didn't sack Lepich, they wouldn't have had Fagan come into that position, and arguably, who knows, they may have been in a different position developmentally with players that they've brought on, guys that they've drafted, and they've now come to a point where they've won back-to-back flags and potentially win 3 in a row. So you can't be using that as an excuse that you can't be sacking coaches when guys aren't fit for the job. So you need to move them on. And I think now it's up to Graham Wright to prove his worth. I understand why he's kept on Voss, because last year there weren't many, I think, candidates that were worthy of, maybe, because, I mean, a new coach, you kind of have to back them in, give them 2 to 3 years on a contract. Whereas now I think strategically he's brought in Adam Simpson. He's there in the background, and maybe allow him to come in as a caretaker for the remainder of the season, see what he can prove. Virtually, you can audition for the role without having to commit for 2-3 years on a contract. So strategically, from a business perspective, it works. And then at the end of the year, work out, okay, is Adam Simpson the best man for the job, or is his heart even in it? But also, are there any other assistant coaches out there that you can bring on board, of which I think are many. And I'm sure that Wright would have tried to pry. I have heard that Matt Scarlett, who's really highly rated at Geelong, he tried to nab him, and he said no thanks, but no thanks. But there are guys as well that Skipworth is one at Collingwood, still under contract. There are guys that I think, using this time now for the remainder of the year in the background, chat to these guys, say, look, there's no guarantees, but come the end of the year, if the position opens up, we'll chat further and do a proper interview, and just really use the time remaining for the season to project forward. Because if we continue the way we are, if we continue with Michael Voss, I just think it's going to get worse and worse, and it's probably more detrimental to the impact of players psychologically, and especially those young players coming in, even guys from other clubs, Ainsworth, Chesser, who's not playing obviously, but Haywood, Florent, and even Haywood as well. He's a good player. He has descended now into being an absolute plotter because of the way we're playing. So that's pretty, I think, telling. But yeah.
I'll just say one thing and then I will leave you be and let you speak to some other people. But I think we're probably going to get slaughtered at Adelaide Oval next week.
Mm-hmm.
I think we will get slaughtered by Collingwood. Even though Collingwood aren't that good, they always match up well against us and they love to beat us. And I hate when Collingwood beat us, but I reckon that's going to be probably a bad one. And then we've got Freo after that in Freo. If Voss still has a job by the time he gets back from Perth, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah. I think it's getting to the point where it's very, very frightening. Good point there from Rayner. Says Voss got a pass in 2024 due to injuries, but 2025 should have been the end. And 2023 was a great run as well, obviously.
Yeah, but I think we also give him grace for 2023 because of the turnaround of the season.
That season was looking bad, remember? Halfway through that Gold Coast game.
That was looking so bad.
Yeah. And that was I think, like, momentum in football is a big, big thing. But I think maybe that game plan, which was tweaked, I think, because looking back to then, I remember being frustrated about the same things where we were just kicking down the line, hugging the wings, not using any dare. At that point in the game, it was a flashpoint where we were virtually like, you know what, stuff it, throw caution to the wind, start, kicking through the corridor and taking risks, and it paid off. And I think with that came momentum, and with that came a bit of confidence, and it goes a long way. And then for some reason in 2024, he went back to kicking down the line, being overly defensive. And even in today's game, when we're up by 20 odd points, he threw an extra behind the ball, which meant that we had one less person attacking in the front half that we could utilize. And that just throws momentum out the window.
Someone asked about if he felt like we were too defensive too late in the game in the press conference, and he said no.
He's got his head in the sand. And that's a
I'm
really big
pretty sure
issue.
He said no. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he pretty much said and denied everything that the journo said. So yeah, good luck. I think I've hit my point today, like of embarrassment and disappointment and disgust, and like something has to give and change, because it's the same thing. We're living the same nightmare every week.
Exactly. And look at that. Rayner said, whatever happened to Ed's farm worked.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's all up here. Get in a good sports psych. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to leave you guys be.
You're right. No worries. Well, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you later.
See ya.
Hope you feel better after that. Well, there we go. A couple of different perspectives from the game. And as you can hear as well, she was not staunch supporter of Voss, but I remember there was so many times there were just games that were losing, and it dates all the way back to 2024 where I was like, just had enough. And then that season, which Rayner in the chat here rightfully mentioned, he got a hall pass, virtually a leave of execution because of injuries. And like, yes, fair enough. But I still remember that season. I don't know if I was doing any content back then, but if I was, I'll have to go back and have a look. But I remember saying, yes, injuries play a part to a point. But even 2025, I know there were people saying, oh, but there was injuries and stuff. But these issues that we're having at the moment happened way before all of these injuries. It's been a big, big issue, a massive issue. And Rayner likewise says at night, Mrs. Damo. So thank you. But like always as well, we have another person in the background here, which we'll bring in a moment. It is one of our regulars, Jack. But likewise, with that, ladies and gents, if you are keen to jump on, if you have joined us late, feel free to do so. We will pop the StreamYard link in the comments here on YouTube. Click on that and jump on in. Let us know your thoughts. Expel all the venom that you're holding that has been building up after watching today's performance? I don't know about you, but I've kind of come to this point, this realization that we are where we are. As a team, we're not good enough, fair enough, but we have players in the team that should be, bringing about a different style of game and not being as bad as what we are. I'm sorry. Yes, you win close ones. Yes, you lose close ones, but you don't lose with regularity against bottom 6 teams historically over the past few years in North Melbourne, who's kind of, bottom 4, bottom 6, and Richmond, who, in my eyes, we lost to. It's just, we've descended now to a point of no return, I think, with Michael Voss. But, I think I can stomach if we aren't good enough, if the players just aren't good enough across the Brendan Bolton era, David Teague to an extent, but it's more than the players now. And I think that's evident. And anyone that says otherwise, I would wager you've got your head in the sand and you're clinging on to this concept that the club should do right by the coach, which is incorrect. Because as we always say, when it comes to players, and it applies to coaches, if you are not getting the results, you are not worthy of a position in the Carlton Football Club. And ultimately, the club is bigger than any one individual. And that was proved with Charlie Curnow, who was one of my favourite players in recent years. I've got a whole card collection here dedicated to Charlie Curnow. But hey, if you're not going to put in, if you're not going to be one of the contributors to the club to help us catapult towards success, then you're out of the team. And the same applies to Michael Voss. Let's bring him in, Jack, and likewise as well. If you're not keen to jump on, feel free anyway to continue the discussion in the comments section. So don't be afraid and let us know your thoughts. So, Jack, are you ready to jump in? I can see you in the green room. He's giving me a thumbs up. Here he is. It is Jack, otherwise known as, I think, Mercedes Man. I think that is you, or Mercedes-Benz AMG. Is that you, sir?
Yes, it certainly is, Damo, and I've been on the ride with you for how long now?
Probably about 2-3 years now, I reckon.
Yeah, something like that. But here we are again. Same old shit. But interesting today that, look, I'm not a fan of sacking coaches. I mean, how many coaches have we got to sack over the years? We've sacked, 6 coaches in the last 20 years, whatever it is. Now, I don't believe he'll be sacked until the end of the year. Why pay him out now? Now, what is he on, $1 million a year? So why pay him out now and just, give him the whatever he's owed and just wait till the end? I mean, look, let's be honest, he's not a good coach. We know that. But if the club's thinking like that, they don't want to pay him out. So they'll get rid of him. That's why they didn't extend his contract, right? But I'm going to start at the top here. The board. Now, I've told you so many times, and I've gone over the years at the club about the board, and you know yourself. That the board, that's why I wrote in the chat before about Graham Wright. He's been indoctrinated, and I just waited for that, right? So everyone that comes into this club, whether it's an assistant coach, players, someone in, like a CEO or footy manager or whatever, they all get indoctrinated by the club, meaning the board controls everything. So they got to abide by what the board does or what the board says. Now, these clowns on the board, you go through some of them, they shouldn't be at the club, right? As we've spoken about before.
Mm.
All right, the president, I'm going to get on to him. Guy lives in Sydney. I mean, really? I mean, we never hardly see the bloke. All right, recently he came out with Graham Wright. All right. So everything starts at the top, then you work your way down. Yeah, that's how it works. So, and if there's anything going on, as we've spoken about so many times, if there's anything going on inside the club, it's going to affect the players. Now, I've got on today's game, people say, I mean, look, I was on the Facebook side before, and it's just going off. It's absolutely going ballistic, as you know. People sack Voss. You know, everyone wants to sack Voss. Now, today, how on earth in the last quarter was Kemp benched and McGovern was in the forward line still? Wettering was off the ground injured. I mean, are you going to just stand there and cross your arms on the bench when he should be up the top, as we all know, and not do a thing? That is insanity. That is complete insanity. How you're not covering for your major backman who's just gone off concussed, obviously not coming back on the ground. When you got McGovern and Kemp in the forward, Kemp was on the bench, but McGovern in the forward line. Mate, even throw Harry down there. He's soft cock. Throw him down there. Throw somebody that's tall down there. It's not rocket science. Right? I mean,
You'd think so.
You know, Harry Mackay is just I'm just getting angry every time I see him play. He's just, and he goes to ground so easy. Look, but that's just, if we can all see it, and there's many comments about it, that's a logical thing you do. Now, another thing, I was speaking to a friend before, Jordan Russell. How on earth they got Jordan Russell in back at that club has got me absolutely. See, this is about money. Cheap. It's all cheap.
It's a business, Carlton, after all, isn't it?
It's cheap. It's all paying them bucklers, some of these assistant coaches and that, yeah? Oh, well, Kemp is, I mean, I'm not a fan of Kemp, but what my point is you'd move him down back. Well, Kemp's played back, yeah? You'd move him down back. McGovern's played back. You move him down back. He had Dirksen and what's his name? Young. The only two talls down back. Right? He got to cover for Wheats at least. One tall.
But that's telling here. This comment here from Michael as well, who's an Eagles man, says Voss looked like a deer in headlights on the bench in the final quarter, and like he exposes himself to that as well willingly. Like if you're not, kind of in your own little space in the coach's box, you ensure they cut to the coaches as they're doing the broadcast and they're smashing phones or showing their frustration or trying to be composed. But in terms of making moves and stuff, normally you see them on the phone or on the radio down to their assistant or whoever's down on the bench to make moves. And he's just there crossing his arms.
He doesn't have a head. I pointed this out to you last year or whenever it was that he never wears a headset. So how is he communicating? What? Someone's throwing an aeroplane letter down to him? How is he communicating? How?
Smoke signals.
How?
And the thing is, they've spoken about as well on Footy Classified and the agenda setters and all that, and I think it's Bartel, guys that I respect in terms of their footy nous and, obviously winning a Brownlow medal, great on field, but really good footy minds. And they've said the same thing, that in terms of you can't see the full, and even James Hurd, who's been in the coach's box, you cannot see the full ground and you cannot make strategic moves unless you're in the coach's box. And in terms of where I was sitting today, I was virtually in the same position I normally am at Marvel, in my reserve seat. I'm normally on level 1, which is kind of just down from the bench on the little, flank there, the forward flank. But we were up in the Medallion Club, which is virtually one level up. And you can see so much more. And strategically seeing the setups and stuff, who is running with who's guarding space. And the fact that he's on the bench, I know Fagan's and McRae, they're kind of the two coaches that have brought it in vogue. But I'm sure he has coaches in the coach's box that, Skipworth being one who's highly rated, highly respected tactically within Collingwood. Guys there that he can trust phoning down to him and saying, look, Craig, so-and-so, we need to make some moves. And that's always been sort of the train of thought as well that I've heard with Collingwood. McRae is such a good motivator. And I know that firsthand, having worked with him when I was at Collingwood. He's a great people person and he is best utilised on the bench to get around the players. But we don't have, Michael Voss is not a Craig McRae. And tactically, he needs other people around him to help him out, which we don't have. Adam Simpson's not there on game day. He's there in this quasi role to try and help out Michael Voss. But it's just such a nothing role. And that in itself was quite funny, hearing that I know he's quizzed Adam Simpson on radio. It might have been SEN, talking about his role. And he clarified, like, I'm not there game day. Like, I help during the week a couple of times a week. And that's it. And there's so many holes in the way that our coaching operates. But, you know, a lot of that comes from Michael Voss's inexperience and lack of tactical nous, all that sort of stuff. But I think it is due to the setup as well.
Well, I did see Simpson on Fox. I heard him on radio yesterday. I heard Sam Doherty tonight as well. He made a couple of good points yet again about the mental side of things, and the frustration of supporters. Because one fan rang in and said people should stop bagging the club and all that sort of stuff, and, you know, bagging the players and all that because we lost. And he actually went the other way, Sam Doherty. He goes, we don't look at all that. Players don't look at all that. Fans have the right to their opinions and all that. So he knows. He knows, right? Just as he knew when he was interviewed by that clown when he came out with what he said. But like I said, it starts at the top. You've got to work your way down. This is not going to change. The culture at this club is non-existent. There's no such thing as culture anymore at this club. Now, someone made a point in the chat about Jack Elliott. Well, Jack Elliott, when he was there, he was a passionate president, but he paid the players and screwed us over. But he was a great president. I agree. We can go all the way back to Harris and in my days when I was down at the club. You know, so look, the other thing I want to say is Ollie Hollands should be dropped immediately next week. He should be put in the VFL until he knows how to hit a target and not butcher that ball. Yeah, he can run all day. Yeah, that's fine. Let him run all day. But did you see the last quarter, how many mistakes he made? I mean, critical times of the game, he made absolute massive turnovers. You know, these players that got, I mean, look, we know about the skill levels on some of these players. They can't even hit a target 15 metres away, some of these players. They can't kick the ball. Right? Evans is another one. You know, everyone's hoo-ha about Evans. Frank the Tank. Yeah, all right, no worries. Look, it's just, I don't get it. I just don't get it. How these are supposed to be senior AFL players, and Ollie Hollands gets away with it every single week. Oh, his brother was good today. I don't mind his brother. The third quarter was fantastic. His third quarter, he was great. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I just said, Rainer. Elliot was playing a paper bag, a good old brown paper bag, mate. And then, as we know, Silvani screwed everyone over. But yeah, Elijah played fantastic in that third quarter. But look, Damo. Me and you have sat here 2-3 years. Have we gone through a time where the club or the selectors, including Michael Voss, because he's on the selection committee, have made a call on senior players? No. When's the last time a major senior player was dropped? Can you remember? Hewitt was the only one. When he got 24 possessions, he gets dropped the next week. Go figure, right? If you remember that. He had 24 possessions that week, and he got dropped the following week. Well, maybe it was something to do inside the club. I don't know. But they got to start. They got to start playing the kids, whatever kids we've got left in the VFL. I don't know how many kids there are left in there. Bring in Flynn Young. You know, play these players. Just put them in. Well, we're not going to make finals. Play them. Give them a run. Our development at this club in the last 20 years has been absolute disgraceful. And even a lot of commentators have brought that up as well about our development. We just dump these players in the VFL 2, 3, 4 years. We're ruining their careers. We're not giving them a chance. And then they go to another club and then they they play well.
And it's telling, isn't it? Like the new guys that have come in, We've got
Oh.
Florence come in, and he's descended now to being a bit part player.
They're indoctrinated, bro. They're indoctrinated. It's the way, right? The way we play. All of them. Every single one of them. I mean, look, Florent and, out of those three, Ainsworth, Hayward and Florent, I picked Ainsworth to be the one out of the three. He's fast, he's nimble, he can kick a goal, but what's happened? What's happened? They've been indoctrinated the Carlton way. Same shit. So look, I don't know what look. They sack the coach tomorrow. It's not going to change anything, is it? Really? Think about it. What's it going to change? All right, Simpson's said that he's left SEN. I heard that during the week. Right, that's probably a clue for what's. I don't want him as coach, to be honest. I don't want Simpson as coach. I want someone young to come into that club, fresh, like Skipworth, as you mentioned. Poor Blake Carousella can't get a gig. He's been around. He's done his apprenticeship for I don't know how many years. He's another one. There's a few out there, Scarlett. There's a few out there. So, and we're going to go probably make another wrongful decision on a coach, the quick fix, right? The quick fix all this. That's not going to work. Well, I don't want Simpson as coach.
Yeah, Jason, the same thing. Blake Carousella. Yeah.
I've been a fan of Blake Carousella for a long time, but the poor guy doesn't seem to get a gig anywhere. Right?
Like Kingsley back in the day, before he got the gig at the Giants, he was auditioning for so many roles.
Yeah, but how long has Blake Carousel now done an apprenticeship? For years, since he retired. Bryant was always a crab. Yeah, look, I wasn't a fan of his. Chesser, now let's go back. I'm going to leave in a minute, but let's get on to the recruiters, shall we? Last week, good old Agresta, my good old mate, Mr. Agresta, the list manager, came out and said last year, what did he say, Damo? We're building. What does that tell you? We're building, he said. We're building, in inverted commas, we're building. Last week, he left the club. Now, whether he resigned, I reckon he's probably pushed out the door. It's time for the other two clowns to leave as well. Austin and the other guy. Forget his name. These guys, look what they recruited. B graders. These other guys that we maybe Ainsworth you can probably put aside, but these other guys Austin recruited, wouldn't get a game in another club. I reckon Sydney Rapid, Hayward and Lauren have gone. Yes, that's correct, Jay. Yes, correct. But he did win a premiership now, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's the ironical thing, right?
Yeah.
But no, look, everything's going to be looked at, Damo. The board all the way. I don't care. All right, they got a new footy manager. What's his face from Port Adelaide? Graham Wright's there. Blah blah blah.
Chris Davies. Yep.
Yeah, they're going backwards by rehiring assistant coaches like Josh Fraser, which is another one that's baffled me. They get clowns like Jordan Russell as a defensive coach. They moved him from forwards coach last year to defensive coach this year, right? So I don't know. Look, regardless, if Michael Voss gets sacked tomorrow, nothing's going to change. Nothing is going to change. He's still got the assistant. And yes, Jay, I agree with you because I did mention the last couple of years. You wrote something in the chat earlier on. You said that the assistants are coaching, and I spoke to Damo about this 2 years ago or whatever it was, that he's been tapped on the shoulder and that one's upstairs and doing all the work. Mate, he can see the game from up there. Voss can't see the game from down where he is. And he doesn't wear a headset. So who is he communicating with? Nobody.
It makes you wonder as well, doesn't it, in terms of that Voss has had so many sweeping changes around him outside of, say, Russell, Hansen, and think there was someone else, wasn't there? 2 or 3 assistant coaches that have been kept on, yet we're still seeing the same game style. We're still seeing the same structure and setup.
Correct.
So that to me says that it's easy now to, I guess, focus in on who the issue is, who is not making the changes on game day. And we've spoken about it in the past as well. This extends even to team selection, issues where players are being selected when they perhaps shouldn't have been selected for the subsequent week because they haven't played a good game or perhaps played their role. And it's pretty obvious now. I think Graham Wright has done that very, very deliberately and smartly to be like, okay, well, let's just remove all the assistant coaches. Maybe a couple there will keep on if they've met their KPIs. But now it's easy for Graham Wright to be like, okay, well, let's work out where the issue is. Oh, it's the head coach. So I think now it is a strategic thing from Graham Wright, and I understand why he's done it. It's a slow process. It's a slow burn in order to try and weed that out. And we've tried to weed out the issues in the playing list, as we know, with Sauce being moved on. TDK's a different kettle of fish because we want to keep him, but obviously moving for big money. Don't begrudge him for that. But obviously Charlie Curnow, big issue, I think, within the playing group. Team chemistry, culturally, I think it was a big issue as well. And there was a lot spoken about as well in the background about Silvani being part of that issue, being very, very negative, all that sort of stuff. But now is the time to weed out the issues and the coaching side of things. And that's kind of the groundwork that the Graham Wright has laid at the back end of 2025 into 2026 to now have enough of a reasoning to be like, all right, well, we've given him enough chances. He's had 5 seasons at the helm. I know I'm still fresh in the role here, but this is my process in order to try and work out where the issues are in coaching and what happens beyond here, whether or not we go for an experienced coach, whether or not we go for an inexperienced coach. I don't care. We just want the right man for the job. But like you mentioned as well, Jack, rightfully so, the board, they seem to be, in my eyes anyway, a lot of yes men and women. And whatever the head of football presents to them as an ideal candidate, they'll just say yes to because they don't care. They're not invested outside of maybe even Diesel Williams. I mean, he's obviously got investment as a past player, but a lot of these people on board level have interest outside of the football club, and it's pretty much a hobby to them. So they just come in, yep, no worries, whatever the head of football says. Brad Lloyd was in that position for so long, and we acquired Bolton, Teague, all these guys that were incorrect decisions, and were ratified by the board, the CEO at the time who was there, and just that is the bigger issue. And that's the next level. Once Michael Voss gets the tap on the shoulder, it's inevitable. It'll happen. We're not making finals. We're not making top 10. He's not meeting the KPIs that have been set for him. And it just, it seems to me that that's the next thing. But there's no way to weed them out unless we have the board, putting their hands up. And if there's a rival ticket to rival the existing board, I wonder if we'll get to that point. I really do wonder because it's happened to other clubs.
Yes, that's the only way you're going to overturn the board. No other way. But you're right. There's only one football person on that board, and that's Williams. The rest of them are all bankers and lawyers and this and that, and probably don't even go to a game. So it's just this club is just this club's become toxic. It has. It's become, like I've been telling you for the last whatever years I've known you. I'm just glad I saw all those glory days, and we seriously need to get a culture at that club. I admire clubs like Sydney, Geelong, who've got fantastic cultures, unbelievable cultures, and you got to take your hats off to Sydney really because they're in a state where it's not football; it's all rugby shit.
Yeah,
and their culture, the way their clubs run up there is unbelievable. What's this? Put your hand up, all you. Well, I spoke to a few friends and I said he'd be gone by round 6 this year. This is last year, and I said he'd be gone by round 6. Now we're up to round 4, and obviously we're in big shit. But like I stated when I came on at the start, I think they'll probably get rid of him at the end of the year, so that they don't have to pay him out.
but either way, they have to pay him the money, don't they? That's the other side to look at it.
I understand, but now they can pay a lump sum, whatever he's owed, right? So I don't know. They're not. Well, definitely not going to extend his contract, are they?
No.
That's why they didn't extend it last year, right? So he's in his last year of his contract. But like I said, all right, he gets sacked. So you're saying Simpson's going to come straight in, not Ashley Hansen? You think Simpson?
I doubt that Ash Hansen, because I mean Ash Hansen had the senior assistant role prior to this year for how many years? And if that's a position that you hold, it holds a bit of weight and authority compared to any line coach. So I think he might be part of the issue as well, especially if he's up in the coach's box and Voss is relying upon him to help swing the magnets. Because I know he's been highly rated and whatnot, and we nabbed him from what the Bulldogs it might have been back in the day. But I don't know. It's up to Graham Wright to work out. He sat in the coach's box for a lot of a period of late last year before he officially started in his role. So I don't know. He probably knows, he would know more than all of us, but I just don't know if he is, as good as what people say he is.
Well, I wasn't really a fan. I think I told you about that last year. I said to you that he was actually doing the coaching out of the box. He was actually coaching, not Michael Voss. Because, like I said, Michael Voss is down the boundary line with no headset. Now, interestingly enough, last year, if you saw, Voss was down the boundary with no headset, but he had Ebert next to him with a headset. And they were conversing with each other. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Voss, all he has to do is put a headset on and communicate straight upstairs. Where are you going to go?
It convolutes things.
Yes, correct. But look, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this club. I actually thought we'd win today. I really thought we would win today, right? I was confident. I said to a few friends, I think we might just sneak in today. But dear, oh dear, how do you just stop like that? It's just whether it's mental. Are these players fit? By the way, what's this new fitness bloke? He's no guru, that's for sure. Are these players even fit to run out 4 quarters?
Yeah, I think like I spoke to, I mentioned chatting to my wife, just in terms of the way that we're set up and expected to play as well. Like with our forwards pushed. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll let her know that. With our players being pushed from the forward line into the defensive half, and then our defenders being pushed into the forward half, and then expected to run both ways, they're virtually playing wingman roles in their positions. So I think the fitness side of things has been taxing based upon the way that we're playing as well. If we had guys at peak fitness and we could play that role week after week, yes, but it kind of makes sense as to why we're kind of not finishing games. And, the fitness side of things plays into that. But then structurally in terms of, going from an attacking mindset into a defensive mindset by throwing an extra player behind the ball when we're ahead by, 4 goals or thereabouts, like that in itself is, I think, not the best way to play, especially with a team that has had issues mentally, psychologically, with finishing off games. Like, okay, guys, like I'm just going to stunt you and what we've been able to produce in terms of getting ahead on the scoreboard as much as we have. Let's just stop that now and let's just go into our shell, play defensive with another quarter remaining. So it really is a perplexing way to play, I think, as well. And I understand it. If it's late in the piece and it's like, 5 minutes to go in the last quarter, that's the way to play. You throw an extra behind the ball. But even last week against Melbourne, like they played an extra at the stoppage most of the time in that second half. And if you go back and have a look, I spoke about it in the review of that game, that video, and I pinpointed specific parts. And they actually mentioned on the commentary as well that Stephen King, the way he was playing, he was actually pushing the half back line up to the stoppage if the stoppage was close to the defensive 50. And likewise as well, if the stoppage was close to their forward 50, they would push their half forward to the contest. And we didn't have anything. Like, our players stayed back and continued on with this guarding space and allowed them that time and space to get the footy and be at the advantage. So it's just, yeah, it really is. We're chasing our tails. We're going around in circles. And Voss, whether it is him alone, whether it's the assistants as well, not contributing, whether it's, both, either or, it doesn't matter. It's not working. And we just need a fresh perspective coming into the club. Adam Simpson, I don't think he's probably the right man for the job longer term. Personally, I think I'd like to see someone inexperienced come in, but bring in, say, a Longmire or like a Horse or a who else is there? Simpson, even, like, who was the his name's escaped me. Port's old coach. Not that I think he's the best senior coach, but I think you look across the competition and there's so many coaches that have gone into the head of coaching role, or what are you, a director of coaching, and they've helped out these inexperienced coaches because they've been able to use and impart their knowledge and experience to help these inexperienced coaches. So that's what I want us to go down that route, and hopefully Wright is of that same mindset. But I mean, he's kind of done his homework when he was at the Pies. He identified Sam Mitchell as the number one candidate. That forced Hawthorn's hand to give Clarko a tap on the shoulder prematurely and say, look, we need you to move on, because they wanted to secure Sam Mitchell for themselves. After that, he then looked elsewhere and found Craig McRae. And I think in both of those moves there, that would indicate that Graham Wright is going to go down that same route again, that same path. And especially because Michael Voss was a coach that had experience. And I think he's probably proven that even though he comes with experience, it's dated and outdated experience that he's bringing to the table. Footy moves so quickly, especially when it comes to the way that teams play and what is deemed a successful style of play. And I think you'll only get that with someone coming in with a fresh perspective that is an assistant coach at another team. And who that may be, we'll have to wait and see. But I just hope that we go down that path again and rightfully have in place a director of coaching, which we should have had dating all the way back to Brendan Bolton, which the likes of Brad Lloyd and whatnot didn't oversee properly and didn't have the foresight to be like, well, we need someone to come in and help us in that perspective.
The way I look at it sometimes is I'm not a fan of the recruiters, as you know. I'm not a fan of Austin, or I was pissed off with the Gresta, that's for sure, because he oversees everything. Yeah, so whoever they recruit into that club and just dump in the twos or whatever, this club is career killing for these players. They ruin players.
Mm.
Don't you see that? Don't you see what I'm trying to say? They ruin careers at this club, right? Because look at the club. There's no culture as it is, and the way the team's coached. The development is where the killer is. That's where the big killer is. I mean, how long are you going to keep the Campo boys in the twos? How long?
Mm.
Yeah, you play a spud that you recruited this year, Reedy? Really? Come on, man. Come on. Big for nothing. Built like a brick shithouse. Look at him. Come on. Gets dropped. So, what is it? I mean, Ben Campo, what is he going to do to get a game? I mean, what is it? Seriously, what is he going to do? Flynn Young, what is he going to do to get a game? So, these are the kids we've got to start playing. You've got to start giving them game time. We're going nowhere as it is. Just give them experience. We need to give these kids experience. Who else in the twos we've got to bring in?
Mm.
Adam Sard's finished. Forget about Adam Sard. He's done. He's done and dusted. Or put him in another position. Play him up the ground like we keep screaming. Get him off a halfback. Play him up the ground on the wing or whatever. I don't care. But, what are they going to do to get a gig? Seriously. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? We know selection every week is a shambles. It's comedy hour.
Mm.
Right? We know that every single week. All right, this week they made how many? 4 changes, 2 were injuries. They bring in Chera. Chera hasn't played for how long? He's as slow as a wet week. We need pace. We need pace in that. So we've got nothing. We don't have runners. just frustrating, man.
And just to that point as well, in terms of pace, and this is again something I want to talk about with regards to, yes, we don't quite have the personnel, but you make use of the players that you have. And this is a tweet that was made by Carlton Blues fans. Does some incredible stuff. Puts out some really nice clips, as it did last week. So this is Carlton Blues fans on Twitter. And he's broken down here. These are the CBAs from when Carlton led 64-85. So Kemp, Cripps, Hewitt, and Shearer. So Kemp was chopping out in the ruck. Then it was 70-85. We had Kemp, Cripps, Hewitt, and Shearer. 76-85, North kick another goal. Pito came off the bench. Pito, Cripps, Hewitt, and Shearer. And then it was 84-85. Pito, Cripps, Walsh, Shearer. 90-85, Pito, Cripps, Walsh, Shearer. 96-86, Pito, Cripps, Walsh, and Shearer. Now, the player missing from that CBAs, all of those rotations there, big name, one of our few options that we have in terms of outside pace, Jagger Smith. Yeah. He was shunted to the forward line.
He was played out of position today. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
See, that's what I mean. So this is coaching. People need to wake up. This is all to do with coaching. Not the players out there, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's not the coach's fault. The coach makes the moves. He's the one in charge. Or whoever in the background, the assistant coaches, the forward line coaches, the back line coaches, they are the ones that make the moves. So what is that? You're playing, someone made a good comment before I was reading. I don't know if it was Jay or Rayner said that Hayward's been played out of position. Now, in all my times supporting this club, the most popular player or most how do I term this? The biggest stuff up that I've ever seen a player being played out of position was when we got Bryce Gibbs. He was played at centre half, practically centre half back for how many years? That was Ratton when Ratton was coaching. He was played out of position for he wasn't recruited as a backman. He was recruited as a in the centre. So if you're going to play players out of position, well, you know, who's Jamie Graham? Who's Jamie Graham?
I think he was the assistant at where was it? Is it Richmond, maybe? Jamie Graham. Let me have a quick look. He was someone that I think West Coast were looking at for their senior coaching role. Jamie Graham is. Let me have a look.
Well, someone mentioned
Freo. I think he's Freo. I think. Yeah.
Well, someone mentioned Brendan Lade before.
Yep.
Well, look. Good luck to whoever gets the coaching job. I don't think that. If Voss goes earlier than expected, or whatever, I don't think the next person's going to come in is going to. We've still got the same players. That's the thing. We still have the same people out in the ground. Never been so close since Wayne Britton sat up there and tried to justify himself. Well, funny you brought up Wayne Britton because if you listen to Kuda Feedy's, good old Kuda, he says he was the best thing to ever happen to him. I don't know if you know about that, Damo. Wayne Britton was a massive influence on Kuda's playing career. Yeah.
Interesting. There you go. Yeah. And he was actually going to get rid of. Did you know as well? He was on the verge. If he stuck around for another year, he would have given Brendan Favola the flick.
Yes, correct.
And it was only for Pagan coming in saying, "Mate, you've got another chance," and he relished it. But rightfully so. I mean, Fev at that stage was a bloody basket case, and he himself admitted it.
Yeah, but Kuda's come out a few times, whether it was on radio or TV or whatever, and said that Wayne Britton was a massive influence on his playing career. Massive. So there you go. But well, he did get. I think Britton get us into a final. I think he did, didn't he?
I'm not too sure if he would have. I might have maybe a final.
Yeah, he did. He got us into a final.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, go on.
I was just going to say it was at the very end of or right before the salary cap issues.
Yes.
and that was it.
And then obviously when Pagan came in, he never had the cattle, and people completely destroyed Pagan. He never had the players. It was as simple as
No,
that.
exactly.
You don't have the cattle.
Coach.
What are you going to do? He was getting rejects from all over the place, and you know he didn't. He had nothing. He had nothing to work with.
Yeah.
Richmond semi. That's the one. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I'm going to step down and give someone else a go,
No worries.
Great to be up here yet again, and just the same old, my friend.
Yep. We will meet again, hopefully under different circumstances. But until then, how does the song go?
I'm sure if Voss gets sick, you'll be doing a live stream. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of feel for you tonight because there's a million live streams going at the moment. Even your mate's doing one at the moment, Ball of Truth. But
Yes.
Fan cams, all that, you got to do them in a different time slot, mate.
No, absolutely. But I just figured that this concept, I just want people to jump on and just vent virtually. So that's the way to do it. I don't know.
We've got no leadership anymore. The leadership at this club is obsolete. There's no one leading out there on the field. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and bag Cripps because Cripps has carried this side for how many years? I'm not going to sit here and bag it. I reckon like I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, they played him carrying injuries so many times, it was ridiculous. The guy was spent. You can see it on his face. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cripps is once again carrying an injury somewhere. Anyway, Damo, good to see you, my friend. Have a happy Easter, you and your missus, and give your missus my regards. Tell us she's fantastic. You bring her on some more times, mate. Get her on here.
I will. Absolutely. No, she lightens up the stream with a bit of beauty compared to my half chewed minty head. So that's always a good thing.
Well, she was right about the presser. She was right. It was a diversion, front and front and end. It was a diversion. Well, about today. Yeah, what about today, mate? What about the footy, mate? I know Good Friday, the appeal. It's a good day, yeah. But worry about what's going on. It's a diversion. He's been given a script. I reckon every week he's given a script, and he reads off that script. The club is telling him what to say. Guaranteed 100%. No, we got to own it. Remember. I'll see you later. See you. See you.
We'll meet again. Don't know where.
Definitely, mate.
Goes.
Definitely. We'll meet again.
Hopefully under sunny days.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. There we go. That was Jack, one of the regulars. Always good to have a yarn with a supporter like him. Level-headed, but also, presents both sides of the argument, which is good to see because he himself admits that, there were days there where he thought Voss was the man. And, like my wife said when she was on earlier, and that kind of shows, I think, in us supporters as a collective that, it's always good to, I guess, come to a realization that, yes, we're all very quick to use our emotions and point fingers at things. And yes, it's players. Yes, it's coaches. But, end of the day, we all just want the club to be better. That's virtually all it is. And, you've got to have, an idea of things and whatnot. And it's totally fine to be shifting in your opinions, whether it be on coaches, players, whatever. I think it just shows growth work. But there are always going to be those supporters out there saying, no, it's the players. Other ones out there saying, no, it's the coach. But I think we all know it's a combination of both. But the constant narrative across the past few years, I think now it's evident. Even staunch backers, supporters of Michael Voss have said that now I think it's time. And I even spoke about it as well with regards to the team itself, that we've got almost a third of our team, looking at last week's lineup against Melbourne, a third of the team almost, new players. That includes draftees, Jagger Smith coming through the ranks after an ACL. And that's a third of the best 23 that is succumbing to the same results, which to me, again, is just another notch in the belt of the coaching being an issue. I think the playing list is an issue, and it always will have holes. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I think we're all converging into the one lane now, and we're on the same same page. And Rainey, you've made a good point. Culture has changed. And I think it is changing for the better. It's a slow, progressive change. It's not going to happen overnight. But, I think getting rid of the likes of Silvani and Charlie the end of last year goes some way to helping, restore that side of things. But there is still more change to come, obviously. Weeding out guys that aren't quite good enough. But, yeah, there's an issue there. We might continue through some of these comments and questions as well. And also, we will, in doing that, have a look at the presser, shall we? Because I haven't seen it. I don't know if those of you out there have seen it, but let us know your early thoughts in the comment section if you have. But we have a new member as well. Thank you. We're the first member of our channel. So thank you, Raina, for your next level support, mate. Really do appreciate it because you are a long-time supporter of ours. You're always jumping on, whether it be the live stream or contributing in the comment section below our videos as well after the fact. So again, thank you, mate. Really appreciate the support. I think to be a member, it's pretty small. I think it's the price of a coffee, which, mind you, I only activated that when I hit the 1K subscriber mark, which I haven't been promoting it. So yeah, I don't know how much it is. I think it might be $3 a month or something. So less than the price of a coffee. It's probably half a coffee, really, if you want to contextualize things with that. But again, thank you, Raina. Appreciate the support, mate. And you are the first. Again, so you go down in history here on the channel as the first member of our channel. Let's go back and just rehash some comments that we may have missed out on. And CM. Now, CM is my best mate. Now, he's gone into this little pseudonym, but CM and I, Clint is his name. We used to go to the footy back in the day when we were still playing at Optus Oval, as we know it by, and as we like to refer it still to being Optus Oval, and of course Icon Park, Princess Park, whatever you want to call it. And we used to go during the early 2000s to every single game. We used to catch the tram in, and one that went down Royal Parade. And we used to go to games knowing that we'd get pumped every single week. I mean, this was post the salary cap issues that we had. We were stripped of draft picks, and we had all these plotters come in, and the guys that we still talk about today. So just as a bit of a side chat to that and today's debacle of a game, let us know players back in the day, and we're talking early 2000s, which is when we started to go to the footy and really take it seriously when we were back in high school. Guys that you still remember, because there are guys of like Blake Campbell, Digby Morrell, Lawrence Angwin. Who else is there? There's so many guys which we always chat about, and I jokingly say, could have been anything. That's always the phrase that I use with players across that era, because a lot of the time they were not up to it. Jordan Doering is a classic of mine as well. I think he could have been anything. But let us know. Join that little discussion there. We might rehash some of the memories of the dark years. And hopefully we're not going into another dark era. But, geez, it sure seems like it at the moment, doesn't it? Let's continue on, and we will queue up the presser as well in a moment. But, again, if you are keen to jump on, more than welcome to. Let us know your thoughts. Join the discussion, all that sort of stuff. Tim, yep, loser staff, leadership disgrace. Vossy gone. I'm a Voss supporter. There you go. And the experienced player's attitude is a disgrace. And I think, Jack made a good point about Cripper. Across the journey, he's been our constant every single week. He's carried the team, but it looks as though, and it's something my wife pointed out as well, that he's either hit a brick wall mentally, which is probably no surprise, even as a leader and captain, but he just seems to be slower than normal as well. So physically, I don't think he's up to the task anymore, as sad as that is. You are mentioning their big party with regards to when Voss is given the arse, as you can see there. Bye-bye, crazy Vossy. Clint says, I thought Sivalaki Hut was the best thing in his career at Britain. Very good. Very, very good. We actually might cue that up as well, which I have a bit of a link there, because one of my first jobs was at Suvalaki Hut in Reservoir. So that was always a classic go-to gag. I wasn't working at Suvalaki Hut, the one that Kuda was a franchisee at. But thank you, Jack, for jumping on yet again. Brass green shoots just got to stay in the contest longer. Rainer, happy to be here, mate. Yeah, I didn't remember seeing last time. Really, I mean, you are the first, mate. You are the first. So you've broken new ground there. So thank you, kind sir, yet again. Carl Norman, it was a classic. I mean, I remember back in the day, he was very chummy, of course, with Lawrence Angwin, and he went by the wayside due to the fact that he stupidly, I think he attended training whilst being under the influence. And Lawrence Angwin was given the arse. He was given the arse. And yeah, culturally, I mean, talking about culture back then, that was terrible, terrible. So Carl Norman, outside of these issues, he actually was a pretty decent defender, must be said. Jimmy Plunkett's another classic one. He was one of my favorites because he just wore his heart on his sleeve. He was like a Wiggins, but not quite as talented as Wiggins. But fiery red hair. He was like a suburban footballer and was traded or taken from the Dogs. So he was a classic. Always his heart in his sleeve, and just was a goer. He tried his heart out. Didn't quite have the talent. Cam Paulson was another one. Played a few games, but yeah, didn't quite reach the mark. Rayner selling tap water wasn't a good look for Kuda. Yeah, Kuda. Geez, now he's shifted into politics, which I don't think is a good move for him either. I think he's a little bit foreign to that domain. Yeah, which Clint, who is of course best mate, he works in that area. Has worked previously, so yeah, he might be able to let us know some opinions about Kuda running for local or state parliament or council side of things. Kuda for mayor. There you go. Yep, he was running for the mayor. Let's get up now. Let us not delay any further because I am keen to hear what actually. Of course. Object you to that. So let me just play it out. It is just a KO ad. You're not missing out on anything. Alrighty. So let us know if you can hear this presser. If you can't, let us know on the chat, and I will quickly try and rejig things. So let me just pop it up full screen. And here we go, ladies and gents. Let us know your thoughts as we go as well. I might stop and start here throughout the presser if there is something that really sticks out to me and I need to comment on and vent, because no doubt we all will. So let us know your comments and thoughts in the chat. Send the Jeets back. I don't know what you're talking about there. Anyway, let us jump into the presser now.
Just before you start, though, to acknowledge the day itself. We're as a football club, incredibly privileged to be a part of this day. There's throughout this week so many special moments where for a week to see them smile is reward in itself. And I've said this before, but it's amazing the amount of times that you think you're putting a smile on their face, but in actual fact, it's probably the other way around. To also congratulate North Melbourne Football Club because they put on the week, and it's obviously their game. We get to share in that.
Hurry up!
But from day dot that we've been a part of this, it's always
like Mr. Squiggle.
Been done extremely
Hurry
well.
up!
And that the fact that we sit on the other side of the ledger this time, we can't forget that's the role that we play in this. And the scoreboard. We know that, boss. Come on, mate. But what we also want to be ensuring 100%. That we're doing is making our club proud, both on the field and in our community.
We're not, mate.
And certainly that fits in the community side of things. You can make up your own mind what that means in the game itself. But from a community standpoint,
2 minutes in,
what our football club's been able to do this week to be able to lift people, I'm extremely proud of.
On you, mate.
So
hurry
disappointed
up.
To be sitting here, the loser, but the biggest scoreboard to me here is.
When's the first smile going to come?
Hopefully, the help and support that we can obviously give others. So, just wanted to put that out there.
Wait for the smile.
So, thank you.
What's your thoughts on the game and also that last term and how things flipped around?
Well, the game didn't start out exactly how we wanted the game to look. There's some obvious things that we want to take off from North Melbourne, and they're just able to generate far too much time in possession, owning the ball, and their high backs were doing some damage early. But we were able to sort of hold our own through that period of time through somewhat different means. And then coming in at half time, obviously the challenge was laid bare for us to be able to step it up a gear. We certainly did that. Our tackle rate was low, mainly because there's just so many uncontested marks from both teams. But then to dial up the pressure in the third quarter, and from that point on, I felt like that looked like probably from quarter time, to be fair, it looked like more of a game, our game. But we have to manage minutes and we have to manage moments, and we didn't, and they were good enough to. So they got ascendancy around the ball, centre square bounce. They got some good drive from and some territory, and that had us pegged back a little bit. So hard one, really hard one to take, because 6-7 minutes out from the finish, you're still feeling like you're in obviously a really really good position in the game.
Do you feel like these are starting to become mental for the players, these finishes?
I didn't suspect it was that way today. To understand the query, probably in the last few weeks. But when you look at the group and you sort of get to know your group pretty well, you can sort of see how engaged they are and the detail in their roles.
Because you fucked up.
Intensity around contest, ability to have composure in the game when it was needed. And I thought for large parts of the game, there's a lot of gains to acknowledge in that area. But we also can't, walk past the fact that you're not finished in the game. So our ability to ice that game, was from a really strong position, and we weren't able to do it. So we just got to own that and go to work on it.
How much do you think losing Jacob Wiedering played a part in the turnaround?
May have a little bit. I mean, he's obviously one of our most important players, isn't he? So,
don't give him an excuse.
Of a leader like that through those particular times. But I think we'd be sort of taking it away from other opportunities that we could have probably got that right. It did stress our system a little bit because we had to shuffle a few magnets to obviously cater for that. But still in the main, you look at the last, still the last 4 or 5 minutes, we still had plenty of opportunities to be able to get that job done. We had the pressure on, and obviously the last moment we had to make that play. That's not something to play safe on, and it didn't work. But that wasn't where the game was won and lost. It was in other moments prior to that.
Talked about icing the game. Did you go into your shell too much? Was it too defensive in that last quarter?
No, not there. I just thought we're probably not giving enough to North as well with how they stepped it up. I mean, they
not there. I'm sorry, I have to stop it right there, because he's taking the absolute piss. If he's saying no, they weren't playing ultra defensive. He was throwing an extra behind the ball when we're up by 20 odd points. He is absolutely taking the piss. I'm sorry. But if you are a senior coach, and I always liken it to other coaches out there, you look at a Sam Mitchell, you look at guys that, even Craig McRae, someone who's relatively calm, a great people's person, they are pretty, straightforward in saying if something hasn't worked, they'll admit it. He is in denial. Like, mate, we can see literally, we are watching the same game that you are supposedly coaching. You're throwing an extra behind the football, stunting the team from continuing their attacking play. Fuck me. It really shits me. Really shits me. And if he's lying in press conferences, I'd love to see him answer Graham Wright when he asks him the exact same question. You reckon he's going to say the same thing? Oh, no, I don't think we're too defensive at all. Mate, look at the style of gameplay that you are implementing. Like, honestly, sorry.
As I said, they sort of around the ball, they stepped up a bit. It wasn't like we didn't have opportunity. So I guess if we were starved of opportunity, I'd be sitting here in some level of agreement with you. But I didn't feel like that's the way that it played out. If anything, some moments of composure would have helped us. So to be able to take the sting out of the game, or and just be able to find when those points and moments are, when the crowd's going crazy and you have to finish the game. So lots of gains to be made, but the scoreboard says we lost. So there's clear level of improvement we need to make.
Are they doing what you want them to do out there, Michael? Like, no doubt you've gone over this so many times about what to do in the last 5 and 10 minutes, or when the scores are close. Are they doing what you want, or is it just composure?
I think in this instance, in this game, I mean, you can't put a sort of a blanket over the whole. Not on this one. there's one out of those, one out of the 4 games we've been able to finish, and we've put ourselves in position to win the game and have the opportunity to be able to do that. So that's the positive, but it doesn't help how I feel right now, and how.
So he's virtually admitted there that the message is getting through and the players are doing what he's instructing. And it's just purely about execution. Okay, well, that's his way of admitting fault in a roundabout way. He's not being honest about it, but gee whiz, that there doesn't take a rocket scientist to read between the lines there as to what he is talking about. And he probably hasn't realised what he's admitted to there. Well, I don't know about you, but at least he's auditioned for a role in politics. He might go the same way as Kuda, the way that he was deflecting things there. My Lord. Now, the question I ask of all of you tuning in, does he seem like a coach who is disappointed with his players? Do you see any emotion, any real... Because to me, I mean, if I'm coaching a team, you are virtually a supporter of that team by extension. And if you're not getting the results, if players aren't playing your style of game and they're giving up leads as Carlton has, surely you go into a press conference pretty pissed off. No matter, as I said, Craig McRae, pretty level-headed, great people person, but even he shows more emotion than Michael Voss does, who, if you're comparing both players, Craig McRae is pretty timid on field. And a lot of people speak about Michael Voss being fearless, really hard nose, rough edges. We're not seeing any of that as a coach at all. Crikey, it is perplexing. I don't know how else to explain it. But very few, I can't even think of a time when Voss has been filthy at a performance or pissed off to any level. I hope to joy by Vossy. Yeah, it seems like, he just needs to get the players around a campfire and be singing Kumbaya, my lord, Kumbaya. Because that's what is happening in his head, I think. Jay, even the Tassie account is making fun of us. Yes, they are. I think they said something to the effect of, don't worry, Carlton, we're entering the competition soon. In other words, we might be able to win against them because we're not winning against lesser opponents or teams that we should be beating. None the wiser. He thinks it went well. And that's the most concerning part, is if you're putting, because he can't be, again, what we're seeing now from Voss, he can't be acting one way in public and then doing the opposite behind closed doors. The way that he is operating and conducting himself now with his viewpoint, his emotions, that is, I guarantee, the way that he's speaking to the players behind closed doors. Not holding players to account, all this positive reinforcement, new age way of thinking, if you want to call it that, it doesn't fly. Positive reinforcement comes into effect when you've actually had more overwhelming positives out of a game compared to negatives. So he is just a softly, touchy coach. It is such a joke. And if you look at, Clarko, he's in a different realm, but, there's vision of him. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think it's been posted by the AFL on Twitter. There's vision of Clarko actually ripping into McKercher. And not that I condone this, but he actually pushes McKercher in the chest as if to say, are you fucking listening? Because he didn't do what was required of him. And McKercher took it on board. I don't think Voss would be doing any of that. Home truths is what I like to refer to it as. Looking players in the eye and saying, you're not getting it done. And we're even seeing that at the selection table. Guys aren't being made an example of. Guys are being rewarded games off the back of some iffy form. Fogarty is one of those. And it continues. Last year it happened. The year before it happened. Motlop, a classic example. And I know he's a whipping boy, but in some poor form, should have been dropped multiple times during 2025. Didn't happen. No heart, no spirit is Voss. 100%. And Jack, we need a coach who is ruthless. We do. That's, I think, the change. And that's what I'm talking about with regards to, I think, the benefits of giving Voss the tap on the shoulder now compared to the end of the season He's enacting that change now. If we're not going to have Michael Voss as the head coach going into 2027 and beyond, which it won't happen, praise be the Lord, we need to be making moves as early as we can. We've backed in Voss. There's no detriment in giving him the tap on the shoulder now. We gave him an extra few games that he was afforded otherwise. I think at the end of 2025, the media, supporters, even opposition supporters alike, I think we all were surprised that he was given extra time. And now, moving him on, it's not detrimental to the optics side of things. As a club, we've backed him in where otherwise we probably wouldn't have with a previous coach. So I think we need to bring in someone that's ruthless 100% and let it be known. Come round 5, round 6, whenever he's given the tap on the shoulder, sooner rather than later, that the new coach comes in and says, you know what? We're going to be pinpointing as to which guys from here on out, come the end of the season, are worthy of pulling on the Carlton jumper. And if you're not up to it, you're out. Simple as that. The players don't respect Voss enough for change to be affected culturally within the playing list. He's lost the players. It's a classic term. It's cliche, but it's true. The players are no longer playing for him. And that's happened a fair while ago, I think, in 25. And yeah, exactly right. It doesn't hurt him enough. As a senior coach, you should be fucking filthy. You should be getting into the presser there and from the outset saying this is unacceptable. We apologise, and other coaches in the past have done it. We apologise to the supporters. McRae's one of those. And it may seem like an empty thing to say, but gee whiz, it means that you are holding yourself to account as a coach, as a playing list. The players, the best 23 on the day, not getting the job done, lowering their colours, apologise. And make sure you come out because, as we know, words are cheap, but make sure you see change. And change has not come. It has not come, has it? Shiny Blue Boots, compare his post-match losses to Kingsley. Yep, another classic one to compare with. He is ruthless as a coach. I don't know if you've seen any of the docos that the AFL have put out, but he is a ruthless coach. And I'm not someone who likes someone as a coach that is 100% ruthless. I think in today's world, today's society, you know, the next generation coming through, back in the day, sure, negative reinforcement, you know, giving a player a spray might give them a turnaround. That's different nowadays. You need to have a balance. There needs to be positive reinforcement and negative depending on the player and how they best respond. You know, there are guys like Harry, Kemp, Young, for example. All those guys there fit the mold of a player who would respond via positive reinforcement and not so much getting sprayed. That's just the way things are. But Voss, to me, seems like he's tried to be this new age coach and being positive no matter what. That does not fly. That is not how you get the best out of your playing group at all. Geez, we hope that would be the case. We hope that would be the case. Are they putting LSD in the water bottles? Gee whiz. Well, I don't know what Voss is smoking, but the fact that he has tried to divert attention, geez. It might help the players play better. Don't know if it's going to help Voss coach better either. The lizard language. He only goes after rookies. Yeah, in terms of making examples, yeah. Only goes after rookies. And you can probably guarantee as well, Jordan Boyd, he'll lose his spot next week. He's someone to me that I've noted across the journey doesn't get a reprieve. He doesn't get an opportunity for continuity in his game compared to a Fogarty, compared to a Motlop, compared to, you know, there's a Young as an example as well. Indeed, he does. Referring to, where are we? Bra there saying, no, he only goes after rookies. Bassmit, is Parker still alive? Is Brendan Bolton available? Gee whiz, I'd much prefer to see us play the Brendan Bolton style. At least we know what we're going to get. Pito Young Kemp, bye-bye, says Blue Eyes. Pito? What do you mean, Pito? Pito's our best player, Blue Eyes, mate. That must have been a typo. He's our leading goal scorer. Have you not seen? North Melbourne Vintage, welcome. Good to have you on the channel as an opposition fan. Keen to know your thoughts as well. As someone sitting on the other side, what did you make of the way Carlton played, the way that Carlton were coached? And what do you make of the fade out again? What did you think of Pitnet's game? I thought he dominated CCJ, but it was Clarko, Masterstroke to put Trembath, a jumping type ruck late in the game to mix it up. Yep, 100%. I think CCJ as well has a really good leap to him. I will say that. So I was surprised to see that we had won the hitouts so comprehensively post-game when I saw the stats. I thought it might be more even because, again, jumping rucks and those who are more aerobically blessed, they have a bit more of an ascendancy with the new ruck rules. So, but I thought Pitner played a really good game. Really good game. He was probably one of the few players who can hold his head high across the 4 quarters. Bass, Lewis Young playing football makes baby Jesus weep. Yeah. Well, here we go. It is Good Friday after all. Rayner, Fagan said the other night that he's going to reward his players that are playing well and want to be in the team. And that's all it gets down to, isn't it? The basics. The basics. Reward the players that are playing well, both in the VFL and at senior level. In the VFL, that's one of the other issues I've had where guys have actually had continuity in their game and haven't been rewarded. Cooper Lord has been one of those classic players as an example in 2025 especially, and that was shitting me up the wall. And now when he finally gets a crack in the midfield, he's, bread and butter position. Gee whiz, oh my God, he's a great player. Well, fuck, we saw it at the start of 2025, Voss. Optics, what cowardice. Voss is an absolute rubbish regarding old school coaches. Real young blokes dying for full of mentors. Compared to Ollie Hollins. I pray he doesn't rush Fogg back in. He was shit in the 2, same with Akers. Flynn Young was good. Well, there you go. 2 weeks in a row with Flynn Young. So hopefully he gets a bit of a crack to come back into the team. But like I said, that's a big issue with Voss as well, not rewarding good form in the 2s. The thing there, I think about the old school coaches. That's, I think, why we see the likes of Dennis Pagan, Kevin Sheedy, guys of that ilk who, Mick Malthouse, classic example, guys that worked well back in the day, but these guys would not fly. That's the way things are. You can't deny it. That's just the way that players are now built. That's the way society is. It's nothing else really to it. And McRae's a classic example that he, I think, find a great balance with regards to positive reinforcement and building a great culture. But when he delivers the spray, you know it's serious. So I think there is something to it. You need to really find a balance there. Tim, Elijah, if he keeps going the way he is, will win the best and fairest. Yeah, I know he started his, first game or 2, maybe game and a half. He was looking pretty ordinary, very rusty. His skills haven't been quite there, but his past couple of games, he's looked really good. So, yeah, he's it's telling, isn't it? Because Elijah was almost in the scrap heap, yet he's leading by example. And I spoke about it last week against the D's. Young, Gov, 2 guys that have been perennial, I guess, guys that have been copping flack, and they were arguably our 2 best players. We had to get rid of the liabilities at this club who are always injured. Yeah, that was, I think, the good part of 2025 is that we were able to, in 2024, going into 2025, we started that, guys getting injured. So that was a big issue, but we can't use that as an excuse anymore. That's the thing. I think that's part of the reason why we went down that path. North, I've seen the Blues play live 2 weeks in a row. It seems the game style is not sustainable. The players both weeks look dead out on their legs in the last term. Exactly. And again, telling by an opposition supporter, someone that isn't used to seeing us play week in, week out like us Carlton supporters. I might try and, if I can transfer it across from my phone. Actually, you know what? I might even just show it to you if I can play it on my phone. This, I don't know if it's going to be big enough to show you, but if it doesn't do here we go. So this is the setup. It was, I think in the second quarter it would have been. that there is our forward line. No one in our forward half, all congested. And that there, I think, North Mel vintage goes some way to speaking as to the fade-outs and lack of fitness. It is that game style there where players are expected to push from virtually running a full length of the field, forwards back into the defence, and then expected to rush back into the forward line on turnover. And likewise as well, our defenders being pushed into our forward half to lock the ball in and then run back if there's a turnover. So that there is the concrete boots that you're talking about there, Rainer, in the chat. That's the game style that is dictating why we're running out of legs. Extra running, 100%. We're being played as if we are marathon runners to having, even not just marathon runners, but players are expected to do repeat sprint efforts on turnover, both ways. In terms of defense, pushed into the forward half. On turnover, them being expected to rush back to, congest their defensive half and prevent the opposition from scoring. And it's wasted running, 100% wasted running. Wasted running. And it's no surprise, come the end of the game, the fourth quarter, that we didn't have any ability to run out the game. It really is a big thing. Development is non-existent at this rebel of a club. Not rewarding players. It's been happening for years at this club. Shiny Blue Boots, I also think as good as Jagger is, the speed of the AFL may have caught up to him a little. I think, we've got to remember as well that this is virtually his first season at senior level. Doing an ACL would have meant that he was in the gym and, rehabbing his knee, not being able to work on his aerobic ability. And as good of a runner he was back in his under 18s years, his draft year, he still is a draftee. He needs to get the miles and kilometers into his legs in order to sustain himself for full 4 quarters of footy. So it's no surprise he probably is not being able to run out games. So he would have the same issue as any other draftee. Jamar, does Vossy get the axe or not yet? Personally, I think we should be doing just that. I think it's detrimental in sticking with him. He's not going to get an extension on his contract next season. I think Wright just needs to sit him down and say, look, mate, we're going to leave the ball in your court. You have an opportunity to leave on your own terms. You're a legend from a playing standpoint, especially. You're a Brownlow medalist, a legend at the Brisbane Football Club. But you are not going to be the senior coach going forward in 2027 and beyond. So the opportunity here for you is to resign at the top of your game, or we give you that tap on the shoulder. I think that's the honest conversation that needs to be had, and I'm sure that Voss would be open to it. I'm sure he knows full well he's not going to be the coach going forward. So he needs to be given his marching orders. As nice of a bloke is that Voss is, he's not a senior coach. And there are guys there that I think Brendan Bolt was a classic one, a great assistant coach, and he proved that at Collingwood, won a flag. But there are guys there that you're either made to be a senior coach or you're not. And he's not. And yeah, 100% stability will come into it. Stability is a big thing. And it's now at a point now where we're eroding. We can't delve any lower than what we are now. And the longer we persist with the same game style, the same issues that go week after week structurally, we're chasing our tail. And it's now at the point where it's eroding the playing list in terms of the team chemistry, culturally, everything that Travis Boak has been brought into the club to help. It's detrimental to his role. And who comes in as caretaker? At this point, I really don't care. I really don't care. But, the only thing that we have power over at the moment is dictating the coaching side of things. And I think, a new coach, we said all the time, comes in, galvanizes the team. And, even David Teague, his first game, I remember that first game. We got the win against Brisbane. Cripper, he was in a bad state. He's spoken about it in that game. And he played the game of his career up until that point. And it really is a reset. So whoever takes over as caretaker, don't care. We need that relief. We're at the point now where it's the pressure valve needs to be released. And, we can't obviously delist guys mid-year. There are guys that are not up to it. But we'll get to that come the end of the year. Now we need to be working out who takes over the reins. Is it Adam Simpson? Is he keen to? Or do we just hand it to one of the other assistant coaches for the time being? Let them audition for the role, if we try and go for someone internally. In my eyes, I see it as an opportunity now to not waste an opportunity for someone to come in, reset the team, allow them to be like, okay, this is where we're at. We're not making finals, but let's just try and adopt a game style that's different, something that's refreshing that we haven't been under the tutelage of for 5 seasons that isn't working. And I think we're seeing that erosion, team chemistry wise, or the dynamics within the team by looking at Cripper and the way that he's getting very, very frustrated. I think a player that is by and large pretty level-headed, but we saw against Sydney, we saw against Richmond, in pretty much every single game, he started a tussle, which is unlike Cripper, and I think the frustration is getting to him. So that, to me, is quite telling. Personally, if it were in my hands, I would be asking Adam Simpson first and foremost, mate, now's your opportunity. If you're keen for a senior coaching gig, we don't know if you're up for the job. We don't know if you're the right man for the job, but now's your time to audition for the role. See how you go, see what results you get. The win and loss is one thing, but I think we want to see the team playing at a level that is refreshing, that gets results, but also is a style of play that it works with modern day football. So I'd be giving him the opportunity for, the 20 weeks remaining of the season. And after the fact there, Graham Wright will assess how he went. Is it worth going with Adam Simpson, or is it worth going with an untried coach and maybe trying to convince Simo to stay on as a, director of coaching type role? Brody, I'd happily pay twice the price of my membership to see Voss go and someone like Bartel take over. Won't happen, but I'd personally love to see it. 100%. I agree with you there. I agree 100%. Bartel was someone that we were thinking of bringing into the club as well from a head of football perspective. So, we went with Chris Davies. Stability will come into it. Yep, that is a big, big part. Great point. Wasted running, cooked by the last quarter. Voss will go at some stage this year, hopefully by mid-year. I think that's all but done. And I think the club, at the end of the day is a business as well. And they will be seeing an impact to their bottom line in terms of attendance. Memberships, not so much. I mean, a bulk of memberships have now been bought, so they're not going to be really seeing any impact there. But into next season, you might see an impact there. So you don't want to be impacting the financials side of things there. And I think that's where Carlton, as annoying as it is to say, that's what they take more of a view on when it comes to the financial side of things. You'd love to say that they are more focused on football, but financially impacted, I think that's kind of what, at board level, all those businessmen and ladies in the boardroom, they would be talking about that. I can guarantee it. So it will happen at some stage. Jamar, will a Hinkley or someone like that coach? It could be a Hinkley. It could be a Horse. Longmuir, maybe. Are they the right people for the job? Remains to be seen. I think that's up to Graham Wright. Coach or assistant coach? Voss was assistant to Hinkley, same style. Yep. Reece Jones is my fill-in. Yeah, you'd love to see that, wouldn't you? I think he's probably one of the old school operators. But it's almost like we need these old school players to come into the fold. Favola's another one as well. Just in terms of goal kicking, like guys that were really good at their craft, bring them in. Coach Eldorado or Bucks. No, I don't think. I mean, Bucks is an okay coach, but Simpson's last 3 years at West Coast was very bad. I've got to remember as well with Simo, he was dealing with a list after their premiership year that was very dated, very old, and they had a heap of retirees, Hearn, Josh Kennedy, guys of that quality that were no longer at the club. So they went from being a top-tier club with a really old list to sliding all the way down and having to rely on youngsters that they weren't developing. So it's very similar to a Collingwood, for example. Collingwood is still going. They're still going because they've got these older players. But once they retire, you might see a similar sort of drop-off with Collingwood. But I kind of give Simo a little bit of leeway there off the back of that, because when you're working with a quality of list that he had and having to, hope that the youngsters can come on and get some sort of result. But again, is he an old school coach? Is he old in terms of being dated, his game style? Maybe it doesn't weigh up or stack up with the way that modern footy needs to be played. Ash Hansen to take over. Simpson will get the job end of the year. There you go. JMO or even Nigel Lappin that's played the game. Yeah, we actually tried to get Nigel. I'm thinking of Scarlett. But Scarlett was someone that we were keen to get across to the club. But Nigel Lappin, yep, another one. David King. David King from Fox Footy. Ash Hansen could find a new job, in my opinion. Yep, I think as well. Hasn't got the job done as a senior assistant, was now demoted to being a line coach in 2026. 100% a coach is not a mother. Yep. Again, you need a balance. You need a balance of someone that can give positive reinforcement, but also negative reinforcement. It's like being a parent. It's like being a parent, and you've got to give home truths to players, and you've got to be honest about the way things are. Maybe the Blues should make McQualter an offer. As in McQualter, senior coach at West Coast. Don't know about that. Simo is the media's choice. I like Simo with the way that he talks about things. And I mean, before he was actually involved with the club, when he was on SEN, and he was actually pretty stark with his assessment with Voss's coaching, the way the team was playing, and similar to like what we're saying now. So I don't know, but again, does his game style stack up? Is it too dated? Let us know who you would be keen on us targeting, whether it be inexperienced, experienced. Is it horse? I'm in the boat of going for inexperienced, but with an experienced head like a Longmuir as the director of coaching. There you go. Freo won by 2 points. Thank you for the update. We might wrap things up as well. We've just ticked over 2 hours, so really do appreciate all of your support here. Tuning in. It has been very cathartic chatting with all of you out there, and hopefully it has been likewise to all of you. We actually might, you know what? If anyone is keen to jump on for a quick yarn, now is your last chance. And we'll wrap things up in about 5 minutes or so. Let's have a look at Twitter. I just want to go through and chat about some of the comments here. If I can whack it up on screen, that'd be good. Or is it share this tab here? So this is some of the comments coming through via our Twitter. The archaic game plan has had Carlton in winning positions every game this year. Too easy to blame the coach. It's clear to me this club is seriously lacking on-field leadership. I think, again, it goes back to that point. Leadership is an issue. Quality of player is an issue. But again, you cannot spare Michael Voss criticism. I'm sorry. You cannot spare him criticism. I'm not going to stand for that. I showed it before with the way we're setting up, the way that we're pushing half of our players into the other half of the ground and expecting them to run both ways. As virtually a wingman. Key position players expected to be running at the endurance level of a wingman. You cannot have sustainable football across 4 quarters without them losing, running their legs and running out of gas. Eldorado, Pendles will be the next coach. Yeah, I think he's probably too inexperienced, but maybe getting a bit of I do prefer to have someone have a little bit of a taste as an assistant before throwing them to the Wolves. Let's go back to notifications. Cripps needs to be a better leader, and Walsh just fades away. And I think Cripper, yeah, he's done it so well for so long. But again, players aren't immune from criticism because they've been a quality player. There's more to that. Here we go. Samuel says, so wrong. The game plan works for a quarter. So this is off the back of Max Murphy, what I was talking about there. So wrong. The game plan works for a quarter and a half. We play one good quarter, that's it. Sure, the players have blame, but the game plan and system clearly doesn't work. Plays too safe, too early. Yep, which is what I spoke about. Throwing someone behind the ball when we're actually ahead. No plan A, B, C, or D, and plan A isn't very good. Voss can't coach, and it's letting down our players. Well said, Samuel. Well said. Even Elijah Ainsworth, just someone different. That was chatting about the CBA players. And that, again, goes back to the vanilla game plan that Voss is adopting. Not having run in our midfield, not having Jagger in there. I think Wright's reputation has taken the biggest hammering in all of this. He's referencing the fact that, Wright, what I said there with Wright, probably doesn't need any more evidence to stamp Voss's papers. And that was my point there. How about instructing the side to play safe? Throwing numbers behind the ball up by 4 goals, inexcusable, and inherently defensive mindset that doesn't fit the narrative of momentum. It stifles it, which is Bolton-esque. Feel free to go back and check out all my tweets if you want. But he was mowed down every time he took possessions, too slow like everyone else in a Blues jumper. But again, that's probably Jagger, virtually first-year player. Running out of legs. I can't wait until it's Walsh, Jagger, and Walker every time. Talking about the CBAs there. Geez, that would be a breath of fresh air. Shiny blue boots. We need leaders who want to win at all costs, have grunt and take the players with them. Yep. That's the thing. I don't know if, Wieders has got great leadership, but in terms of marshalling his defense, but I don't know if he's got that edge to him. You know what I mean? Where are we? To be honest, I was surprised we were in front of half-time, given poor skills and intensity. I didn't have multiple heart surgeries as a kid, only for Carlton to break my heart yet again, says Jason. Look after your heart there, Jace. Like I said to him, if you go in with the expectation that we're going to give up a lead and lose the game, stress levels just come down. Nick Austin should be looked at. I think it's probably more so further back than Austin. I think he's actually a half-decent recruiter. But James says there, we are potatoes. Such a slow ball moving team, our problem for years. We're so badly coached, it's damning when you see our positioning at games live. And yep, 100%, which Voss wouldn't see, being at ground level, like an idiot. Harry and Voss needs to go. Tools down stuff, yep. Yeah, as I said, absolutely shambolic work rate, lack of awareness, positioning, refusal to man up on a direct opponent, putrid skills, bottom 4 at best. I don't know why Cripps always pulls back his kick. Yeah, it seems to be the case, doesn't it? Seems to be the case. But the issue with Cripper as well is he just tries too much. And that might work when you're early to mid-20s, when you got a little bit of speed to you. Any speed that he did have, which wasn't much, Cripper, he's kind of lost. It's gone by the wayside because the game has moved into a different direction so much more quicker. But ladies and gents, we might end things there because I'm going to fire up my other stream over on Supercoach Edge for a post-game review looking at the Supercoach side of things. So if you want to continue things, jump across to our channel there and you will see what there is to see. If you are keen on Supercoach, that is the place to be. I will whack a link in the comment section here and you can go and check it out. But that is it for our review. We've combined the review for this game into our raw reactions, which will be a new thing going forward post-game, provided that we get home in time from the games, because we'll be attending, of course, the games here in Melbourne. Interstate games, we will continue those much easier. So check out if anyone is keen, is a super coach player, jump across to there and we will be doing our live stream there. Rainer, likewise as well, mate. Again, thank you so much for the support. Next level support, becoming a member of the channel. And if you want to be like Rainer, if you want to support our venture here, feel free to check out that. I think it's a little join button beneath the video here on YouTube, and you can join for as little as half a coffee. I think price of coffee, half a price of coffee, I should say, for a month. So again, no obligation. All I ask is just on the way out, click the like button on the video, hit subscribe if you aren't subscribed to our channel. And we do reviews, previews, raw reactions, all that sort of stuff, and anything else in between. Sack coaches, hopefully. But again, thank you, Rainer. And with that, ladies and gents, we will end things there. Thank you as always for tuning in. Really appreciate all of your support through thick and thin. And yes, we're going through a really shit phase at the moment. We know that. But we're here. We're here for a long time, not necessarily a good time. We wish it was a good time, but we are here from go to woe. We are rusted on Carlton, passionate supporters, members, different varying levels depending on what you prefer. And we'll get through it. We'll get through it. Always is. We always is the light at the end of the tunnel, and it will come. And I'm just hopeful that for me, anyway, I'm just hoping that Graham Wright, as a footy mind that he is, preemptively sees that we're not going anywhere under Voss and uses that as the pressure valve release. And from there, just look at the rest of the season as a bit of a, trying to work out as to who will coach the Carlton Football Club going forward into 2027 and beyond. And working out as well, for those players on field that aren't immune from criticism, those players are playing for their careers for the rest of the season. Thank you again. Thank you, Jay. Really appreciate you joining us. And with that, ladies and gents, we will see you in the next one for the preview of, oh my Lord, the Adelaide game for Gather Round. Kicking things off as well, mind you. It's going to be a shitful one, but hey, we'll get through it. And we'll be back again for the preview of that. Thanks again for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one, and go Baggers.